Replenishment may be necessary to keep a force at sea far from its bases beyond its normal endurance. This is no new requirement. It was known in Nelson's time, but the methods have been altered to suit modern conditions, and a full description of them will be found in the book of reference on Replenishment at Sea, which should be studied by all concerned. Replenishment is designed not to store a ship in the whole range of her supplies, an operation which can only be carried out in harbour, but with limited quantities of fuel, ammunition and stores and certain spare gear of which she is in immediate need, to enable her operational endurance to be prolonged for a limited period beyond the normal. Sometimes, when passing liquids alone, the astern method of replenishment is used. This allows freedom for the use of the ship's armament, some freedom of manoeuvre, and there is little risk of parting the gear in heavy weather. But usually, fueling is carried out by the Abeam method. It requires shorter hose lengths, permits telephone communication between the ships engaged, and generally the operation can be completed more quickly than by the astern method. Also, the Abeam method is the only one used for the transfer of solids. Certain methods and items of equipment are common to all types of replenishment abeam. In both ships, the positions of the various dumps are shown by displaying flags of different colors. A line gun is used to establish initial contact between the two ships. The supplying ship passes the gun line except when replenishing an aircraft carrier. Because this line is not strong enough for hauling across the replenishment rig, a messenger carrying the necessary lines is hitched to its bight. Here is the standard messenger, fitted with Inglefield clips to carry the distance line, telephone cables, and any replenishment gear required. The first clip carries the distance line. The next two carry the two telephone cables. Three more carry the gear required for the particular replenishment. Immediately the messenger comes to hand in the receiving ship, the gear is disconnected, the distance line is taken forward, and the telephone cables are connected to the bridge and exchange. Here is the messenger being hauled into the receiving ship and the gun line being unhitched, coiled and returned. Now the messenger is hauled in and the various lines are unclipped from it. The distance line is taken well forward in both ships, to the breakwater, say, in cruisers and larger ships. The distance line is marked at 20 feet intervals with rectangular pieces of colored canvas painted with numerals. By night, red lights replace some of these marks. The standing end is secured at the zero mark to the guardrail in the supplying ship, and the outer end is tended in the receiving ship. By means of the distance line, the captain of the receiving ship can keep accurate station on the supplying ship. The next two clips on the messenger carry the telephone lines. These are marked exchange and bridge and are connected to telephone plug boxes in the receiving ship. The former provides communication between the various replenishment positions, and the latter provides direct communication between the bridges of the two ships. Now, whatever replenishment gear is required for the particular operation is hauled in and rigged. The receiving ship keeps station on the supplying ship entirely by ship handling. This is best achieved by two officers working in cooperation. One officer takes a compass bearing on some point of the supplying ship and orders alterations of speed. The other watches the distance line to detect any tendency for the ships to open or close and orders alterations of course. When disengaging, on the completion of the replenishment, The telephone cables are clipped to the messenger for passing back to avoid their terminals being damaged by salt water. Then the messenger is paid back to the bitter end. The distance line is then paid back separately and the receiving ship shears off.